Hey everyone, AkemiTCG here with a brand new video. I have a little bit of a list because I'm wearing like some retainers now, so please bear with me. If you hate my voice, let me know as well. So I just finished yesterday playing in remote duels. I played into two events, one Attack of the Giant card on Saturday, and the remote duel main extravaganza event on Sunday, where it was 8 rounds of Swiss. And I just want to share with you guys what happened, what mistakes I made during the duels, and what I've learned from pretty much the entirety of doing the whole remote duel thing. And I just want you guys to have like a great experience, and I just want to share firsthand what happened during my remote duels, so you guys don't come in blindsided by what's happening. Let's get to it. We are back here in the den. First, I'm going to talk about what deck I played and pretty much break it down step by step why I played the certain cards I played. Pretty much a whole entire deck profile, but it's going to be a little shorter just because I know this video might run a little bit long. So if you want to see a full in-depth discussion of the deck profile and the combos, go in the description down below and you're going to find the video where I just highlight this deck profile and pretty much talk about everything about it. And then I will talk about both of the events I entered. I entered the Attack on the Giant card, where I went 3-1, and that meant I made top 16 there. And then the second, which is the main event, where I played the first 6 games and then I scrubbed out. And then I'm going to explain pretty much every single mistake I made, every single play I could have done better. And if I couldn't win it, I'll say that as well, because it can happen. Sometimes there are some games that are simply just not winnable, but when you look back and you look at the mistakes you made and you improve and you learn from it, that's what helps you, yeah, I'm talking to you, become a better duelist. So let's get into it. Here's the deck profile. I'm playing double Ash, double Valor. I was initially running double Ash, double Valor, double Crow, but Crow didn't come up as often, so I'm just running these 4s now. There's a couple more hand traps in there, so you're gonna see those in a second. One Ashian. This is a tech card. I like it a lot. Sometimes I have an Ashian and a Fleur-de-Lis in hand, and then they link summon into, let's say, like Verte Anaconda or something. Then you would summon Ashian, because most of the time they use a link 1 to make their Verte. So you summon Ashian, and then when you use Verte's effect, you can just grab, or you can play Fleur-de-Lis. And best case scenario, let's say you have Fleur-de-Lis in the graveyard already, Ashian will just recur your Fleur-de-Lis back into your hand. So it's like a free extra surprise hand trap, but it's only useful during slightly later games. One Maximus, 2 Fleur-de-Lis. As a normal Maximus, less people are running, stuff to play around Dogmatica because they're worried about other decks right now. So it's a little bit better than it used to be. And then I'm playing 3 Alistar the Invoker, and then 3 Dogmatica Ecclesia. That's pretty much it for the monsters. Why do I play this deck? Akemi, why do I play this deck? I just like how the deck runs. The first time I played this deck, I thought it was okay, and I felt kind of spaghetti for playing something that is tier 2. But the more I played the deck and the more I thought about how to build the deck, there's a lot of process that goes into it. Like, yes, the Alistar combo, where you go into Alistar, into Almirage, into Gardna, and then you make Makaba, and then going into Ecclesia and just doing the basic search, is pretty elementary. But when it comes to actually playing the deck, because it's so control based, it's heavily control, that it takes a lot more skill to play than I thought it would. So I find it really rewarding when you're behind on advantage, and just because you played a certain way, you outed your opponent. And that's why I really like the deck. For my spells, I'm playing 1 Call by the Grave because you have to play the 1. 2 Talents. I don't like this card at 3. Oftentimes I sided this out, especially if I am going second against a non-combo deck. If they're not playing combo, then there's not really room for me to, bait out every single monster effect and activate this card. So I usually sided this out, but it came in clutch. I played against Adamantipator. He used Needle Fiber against me. He only had 1 card in hand, and I Tactical Talents him, and I shuffled his last card in his hand back, and I put him in a really bad top decking situation, and I'll touch upon it in a second. 3, and then Dear Servant. You have to play the 3. I'm playing 2 Cosmic Cyclones. I used to play DD Crow, but I play Cosmic over this just because a lot more people are playing Eldritch now because there's more budget. And Cosmic Cyclone also hurts virtual worlds. So if they target their continuous spell or continuous trap with the virtual world monster, and then you just can chain Cosmic to it, since the target is no longer valid on the field, then you can interrupt their virtual world summons. And sometimes that means the end of their turn. I am playing the triple super polys. Just gonna move everything up here in a second. Playing the triple super polys. This game in clutch pretty damn hard. A lot of times when you play Alistar the Invoker, they're gonna hit Alistar with pretty much every hand trap possible. And also Lancia hurts a ton if you use Invocation. So you just super poly your Alistar with their monsters. Or in the best case scenario, I played against a Cyber Dragon player and he was playing Cyber Dragon Dogmatica. He went into Infinity ahead of Makaba on the field. He used Infinity to target Makaba. At this point in time, he already baited out my Makaba negate. I just changed Super Poly, discard 1, and infused my Makaba with his his Infinity, and I made Elysium. And then with Elysium, I just yeeted all his monsters, and the next turn I just attacked for game. So it's pretty nice. It comes in clutch. And if you're playing against even PK or any deck that's heavily dark, it's even better. 3 Meltdown for the Alistar search. Triple Droplet. I felt like this card underperformed during the tournament. I only resolved it once. Literally the whole... I played what? 10 games or 10 matches of Yu-Gi-Oh! I only resolved Droplet once. I'm probably taking one out. And I will explain what I'm going to take it out for. If I was playing the Eldritch version, then yes, I would play in the triple droplet because it's just so free, but I'm not playing the Eldritch version. So the cards in my hand and the resources are very important, especially since I'm playing Super Poly as well. Playing a double Invocation and then the 2 Desires. So I would replace the droplet with is just a 3rd copy of Desires. And I would replace 1 Cyclone with just a Harpy's Feather Duster. And then I could potentially side the other one, but I'll see what happens there. Just the 3rd part of Desires because I wanted to see it more. I ran 2 because I never wanted to draw into multiples, but that only happened once, and it was in the final game, and it just wasn't relevant at that point. So there's a lot of times where I had a droplet, and I wish it was Desires instead, because this deck kind of loses in hand advantage pretty fast if you don't open up Nadir or resolve like Talents or something like that. Traps, 2 Punishment, because I'm playing Desires. 3 Ice Dragon's Prison. This card overperformed during this tournament. I won so many games because of Ice Dragon's Prison against the Zoo player. Basically, they activate Chakanine, they target the Dryden. You can just Ice Dragon's Prison, get the Chakanine back, and then just yeet both their Chakanine and the Dryden, and they're kind of stuck without a Dryden for the whole game. So all they have left is Zeus, and if you have a way to deal with Zeus, then you just win. And then 3 Imperms, and that is it. For the extra deck, 1 Titanic, you only play 1 Agodes, Elysium, Makaba, double Makaba, because sometimes you go into 2. Purgatrio, this came up once and I won a game because of it. 2 Natis, popping is just really good. 1 Dragon Master Knight, this came in so clutch. I was playing against Zeus and he had Megaclops, and I just used Punishment to kill his Megaclops. That's like the reason why I play it. And also it gives Agodes a big boost to 7,000, and with Alistar in hand, that's 8,000 for game. 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Starving Venom, 1 Triple Rantham. I'm probably gonna take this out and put in a Wind Pegasus at Ignister, just in case I resolve Maximus, or like they resolve their Maximus. One or the other could happen. Nightmare Phoenix for the triple tactical talents. If I take their card, then I can Nightmare Phoenix after, or if they have a really bad Floodgate, I can get rid of it. 1 Amirage and then 1 Gardener. So the only thing I replace is obviously the Triple Rantham with the with the Wind Pegasus at Ignister. Then for the sideboard, I'm playing the Gamma package. This card overperformed in the side. I don't like it in the main because I'm not always going second. And I feel like this card shines when it goes second because you want to stop your opponent's stuff as opposed to it being like another pseudo Call of the Grave. And plus, when I go second, I have an additional card in the hand, so I'm more likely to draw into the Gamma as well. D-Shifter, fantastic card for going second. If you're playing against pretty much every single deck that's meta right now, gets hurt by D-Shifter a lot. It's just a really, really good card. Harpy's Feather Duster, again, I'm going to main this instead. Swap out the Cosmic, put in Harpy's Feather Duster. 3 Lightning Storms. This card underperformed. Like, I never sided it in because people were just playing around it. They either play their monsters in defense or they just didn't play enough back row for me to warrant playing Lightning Storm. So I'm gonna definitely probably gonna take this out and put in Artifact Lancia. I feel like Artifact Lancia hits a lot more decks than I think, and it's gonna be probably a better choice. So this Tuesday, I'm gonna test out the 3 Lancias and see if I like it more. 3 Evenly Match. This card's really good. And then 1 Red Reboot. Alright, on to the matches. So I played in Attack on the Giant card. There were 72 players. Or 76, I don't remember. So I will talk about each of the matchups. Step by step. Okay, matchup 1. I played against Virtual World. This is literally my first time remote dueling. So I didn't know it was supposed to be laggy or not. Excuse me. It was supposed to be laggy or not, but game 1, my opponent had the upper hand, but he literally disconnected. Like, his internet just went off, and I won a game because of that. Game 2, because he DC'd for so long, and I called a judge, and then he came back. I thought I got the match win, but I just was a gentleman, and I want to say, like, yeah, let's just play it out. So we go into game 2. We get timed out, and he has higher life points than me. All I remember is I just ashed his Lulu at every chance I got, but that was about it. Since it was a draw and the Attack on the Giant card single elimination, we have to go into game 3 and go into 4 rounds. So we get to turn 4, and neither of us has taken damage, and I wiped out his field. He wiped out my field. I had 1 card in hand, but it wasn't a monster. I drew for turn. I drew to an Nadir Servant. So that won me the first game against Virtual World. Game 2, I played against Infernoble. Game 1, I just... What is it? He outgrinded me, and he just got full combo with Infernobles. And I couldn't really do much. Game 2, I pretty much outplayed him. I dropped in D-Shifter, and then he really couldn't do anything on a D-Shifter, because Infernoble just can't do anything on a D-Shifter. And then game 3, he couldn't do any damage to me because I kept hand trapping him, or like doing pretty much everything in my power to stop his plays. Because I do play Infernobles, I understand how the deck works, at least how the basis of the deck works to a certain degree. So game 3, I had 8,000 life points and he had 5,000 life points because I hit him, attacked him directly with the Fleur de Lis at one point, and then judge called time and I had the higher life point advantage, so I won that one. Game 3, I played against Sideboard Dogmatica. I thought he was just playing Cyber Dragons because he just normal summoned Core. And pretty much when he summons Core, I can't let that go through because he can just pop off with his play. So I just imperm that. And then he links off into a monster. I think it was Almirage. And then he goes into Ecclesia. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm playing against. So I'm playing against Dogmatica Cyber. But game 1, I pretty much outgrinded him. I just had more and more resources that he couldn't keep up with just because... If you use Alistar and you do the full combo, you still have 5 cards in your hand. So I just had more and more advantage than him. So I just outgrinded him. And then game 2, what happened was he summoned Infinity. He baited out my Makaba. Before summoning Infinity, he summons Infinity. Attempts to use Infinity effect to take Makaba. And then I just super powered him, summoned Elysium. And I pretty much ended his career there. And I pretty much slowly outgrinded him for game. And I remember at one point he was kept asking me about the typing of my monsters in the graveyard, but I made sure to never keep any 2 of the same types in the graveyard, so he couldn't resolve Ice Dragon's Prison. So I knew 100% he had Ice Dragon's Prison in his set card, but he couldn't activate it, or he couldn't activate it without maximum value, so I just gamed him from there. Game 4, I played against Dogmatica, invoked Eldritch. There was no possible way I could have played that game better in hindsight, just because he kept gaining more and more advantage. If there's anything you know about Eldritch, is they get pluses from Forbidden Droplet because their trap card goes to the graveyard, or the spell card goes to the graveyard, so they can keep, plussing off of that. So I just got outgrinded game 1. Game 2, I came in with a better mindset. I came in with, let's put in the Evilnies, and let's put in pretty much all spell and trap removal. I know they're going to activate in the graveyard, but if they're not activating in the field this turn, I can try to go for OTK. But every time I try to resolve Invocation, I resolved it turn 1, and he chained Lancia to it, so I couldn't use Invocation. And then game 2, oh no, not game 2, sorry. Same game, I top deck a Invocation, and that was the way out for me to play just based on the board and based on the situation. But he had another Lancia in hand, so since he double Lancia me, he definitely got it. I couldn't have played that one any better. So I did pretty good. I was playing with some of the best players like Ryan Yu, Pac, and Jesse Cotton, so it felt pretty nice to be able to at least make it that far. So on to the main event, which happened on Sunday. Oh boy. Game 1, I played against Prank Kids. I have no idea what Prank Kids do, so I had to read half of his cards, because I spent a lot of time doing that. Game 1, I couldn't resolve Meltdown just because he just kept hand trapping or interrupting it every chance he could get. So he won game 1. Game 2, what happened was later on in the game, I had 5,000 life points, he's at 8,000 life points. I had... Let's see. I had Ecclesia and Secure Gardener, and I had Alistar. So I summoned Alistar, and I attempted to activate Search. There was a judge inside watching, so I attempted to activate Search, but I forgot to look at my Pot of Desires pile because I already resolved Desires earlier that turn. And I looked at my Desires pile, but I forgot to look at it. My bad. I forgot to look at it. I summoned Alistar. I attempted to search for Invocation, but I looked through my deck. There's no more legal targets. The judge gave me a warning for that, because that's not what's supposed to happen. I wasn't even supposed to look through my deck in the first place, so that was fine. But that kind of tilted me, so I just went into... I had an Ecclesia in hand, so I just went into Gardener, Almirage, and then Gardener. So Gardener's 1,000 attack, and then I had an Ecclesia in hand, so I special summoned Ecclesia. I did not activate Ecclesia effect because I looked through my Desires pile. I saw my 2 Fleur de Lis, and usually game 2 and 3 I side out my Maximus because they know what they're playing against. But this time I didn't side it out. I kept it in, and I don't remember if I kept it in, and I didn't know there was time, so I didn't use Ecclesia's effect. I just attacked with both Secure Gardener and Ecclesia. And then at the end of the battle phase, the judge called time. So in hindsight, all I should have done was use Ecclesia, get Maximus, special summon Maximus. Obviously, don't use the effect of Maximus, and just attack with everything, and I would have had a life point advantage, and that would have been a tie. And that probably would have changed the outcome of probably games like 2 to like 6, whatever. So that happened. That was 100% my fault for getting tilted. And then game 2 against Frog, against Paleo, I got outgrinded game 1 because I couldn't do much about back row. Game 2, he set 4 and passed. On my turn, I felt like I was doing the math. I had OGK in hand, so I pretty much do the whole Alistar combo with Ecclesia, and I had a higher shin in hand, so I can definitely go for a super OTK. So I summoned everything, and then I special summoned Fleur de Lis using its effect. My opponent chained Solemn Strike, paying the 1,500 life points. Then I chained Red Reboot, and he didn't have Judgment, so therefore I just OTK'd him from there. Game 3, I opened up Harpy's Feather Duster and evenly matched. I played Harpy's Feather Duster against him because I am going second, and he chained Solemn Judgment to that. He's at half life, and then I activate evenly matched during the end of battle phase, and he couldn't do anything about it, so I just beat him from there. Game 3, Zoo, he opened up the nuts. He opened up Rapier, Pot of Desires, and Pot of Avarice, which is literally the best hand possible. And I had nothing for the Rapier. I didn't open up any hand traps, unfortunately. So he summoned Megaclops, kept the Dryad in the graveyard, and then set a couple cards, set 4 cards and passed. So that was disgustingly good hand. Set 4 or 3, I don't remember. So I couldn't resolve my Meltdown or anything because if he activates when I summoned Alistar, he always had the Chalice for it. He was maining Chalice. But we proceeded to get on later in the game, and he summoned Zeus. He attacks me to 3k. I'm like, okay, fine. Next turn, I successfully summoned Makaba somehow. I attack him to his Zeus, and then he has 3 back row set. He has 3 back row in a Zeus set. I attack him to his Zeus and Makaba. He's in a top decking situation right now because he has no Zeus in hand. 3 back row set, 1 Zeus, and I had a Makaba. And that was it. I just had a Makaba. So I Makaba attacking to a Zeus that's in defense. And then he knows I'm going to drop Alistar to kill the Zeus. So he chains Zeus and he yeets the whole board. And I let it go through because I want him to neg a lot more cards than I am negging. So does that. And then pretty much I just had the upper hand at this point because he just got rid of his double Chalice and Imperm. So I just killed him there. Game 2, he just outgrinded me. I just couldn't beat him. And then game 3, He had a Check Knight in attack mode and a Dryad in defense. He goes into battle. He declares an attack on me directly. I chain Ice Dragon's Prison, targeting his Hammer Kong, and then banishing his Check Knight and his Hammer Kong. But what I didn't know was, even though he declared an attack, even though the attack did not go through, he still declared battle. So he just literally stacked Mortar on Dryad and then went into Zeus. And that was literally my misplay. If I just played Ice Dragon's Prison at the start of the battle phase and then got rid of both his Check Knight and his Hammer Kong, then he would not have been able to summon Zeus, and I most likely would have won that game because I had an Alistar in hand ready for next turn. Game 4, I played against AkemiTCG. Game 1, I came in late, so I got a penalty for that, unfortunately. Then game 2, I just steamrolled him. I went first. I pretty much had all the outs. He summoned Doki Doki. I wait till he discarded and I get him banished with Makaba, and then just do the plays from there. Game 3, I just hand trapped him, so he couldn't really ever perform the full combo. Then at one point he was able to perform full combo. I 3 tactical talents him when he has a formula and a 1 card in hand. And how he summoned formula was he fibered during my main phase to summon formula to get the draw. Now he has 1 card in hand, so now I just play 3 tactical talents, and I get rid of whatever card is in his hand. Or shuffle it back into his deck. Put him in a really bad top decking position. The only card he could draw to get himself out of the situation was AkemiTCG's Signs. So I just attacked to his monster. I'm like, okay, let's put you in a top decking situation, because if you drew into a Guardian or something, he would have definitely lost. He drew into AkemiTCG's Signs, which is the worst case scenario. He goes into practically full combo, and then I wait until he has Martial Metal Marcher and a Dragite in the field. I just super poly his Martial Metal Marcher and his Dragite to summon my Mud Dragon, and then afterwards I just steamroll him for game there, because he doesn't have another 3 in his deck anymore because he already used up all his resources, and that was really it. And I felt really bad for the guy because he just rage quit after. Game 5, I played against Phantom Knights. I just got wrecked. I drew into 4 hand traps and literally no starters, so I couldn't really do much from there. Game 2, I had 3 hand traps and no starter, but it was slightly better. All I remember is he played Phantom Knight's Breaksword, and he attacked me. Or not he attacked me, but he ended his main phase going to battle. I chained for the release, summon it in defense. That was my mistake, because he attacked into it, and the moment he attacked into it while I was in defense, I knew he was going to go into Zeus. If he didn't go into Zeus there, I probably would have had it, because he just didn't have enough advantage to go off. So that was 100% my fault, but we wouldn't have known what would have happened in game 3 anyways. Game 6, I played against Amazonas FTK. So I went first. I didn't draw any starters. I just set my Imperm and my Ice Dragons, but I had a Cobble to Grave and Droplet in hand. But I was worried about Harpy's Feather Duster. But I didn't know he was playing a 60 card deck because I didn't ask, and that was my fault. So I didn't set all 4 cards. If I knew he was playing 60, I would have just set all 4 cards. He basically did some Amazonas FTK where he summoned 2 warriors, made I sold, and then abused Cyberstain with Rapodicus with the telekinetic card with Valon Cube, and he pretty much FTK'd me. So now that I knew I was playing against, I decided my D-Shifter side in pretty much everything I needed. So game 2, I actually didn't open up any hand traps, but because I was silent the whole time, I psyched him out, and he didn't go into full combo. He just chose not to go into full combo because he was worried about Nibiru. He got really psyched out because of it, so he just played a really defensive play, which was suboptimal. He could have FTK'd me there, but it didn't happen. So he said pass to you, and I'm like, oh. In my head, I'm like, oh, okay. So I can just start playing, and I just beat him from there. And then game 3, he opened up Connector and Drag Down. So he played Connector. I have to imperm that because I'm not sure if he has an extender in hand because he's playing 60. So I imperm his Connector, and then he played Drag Down, and at that point in time, I knew it was over. Because he knew the cards in my hand, and the card I drew off of Drag Down was Cosmic Cyclone, which didn't help at all. So I just lost from there, unfortunately. So that's really much how it went. Hopefully, y'all can learn from my mistakes. And I think it's more important to understand the mistakes you made when you lost a duel than to be like, oh, I only lost because this card sucks. The better way to look at it is to look at it from an introspective point of view and be like, oh, I could have done this better. I feel like if you make the most optimal plays, you maximize your chance of winning. And that's just how it is. And I want all of you to adopt that mindset where it's like, I didn't lose because of this card. I lost because either A, I didn't play around that card, or B, I didn't play my cards correctly. But again, some games are not winnable. And that's just the nature of the game. Sometimes you just draw into a bad hand and it happens. I'm AkemiTCG. I hope you learned something from this remote duel. It's been an absolute blast. And I'll definitely do this more again in the future. If you like that I did a recap on this, please let me know down below. Make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I really would appreciate it. Anyways, I'm AkemiTCG. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
The world ends now.